Most companies don't hire international students or they don't want to sponsor. So it's waste of time. You shouldn't be going. Is that true?
You didn't go on this study abroad experience.
To be in the same environment.
We run the data. There are a wide range of different ways that students secure their co-op offers, their full-time offers every year. Career fairs are always at the top of that list.
Wow.
At a startup or at a company, I, as a hiring manager, have a lot of power to make rules. Can't describe how many times I've met a really awesome person and we didn't have a position, but we said, you know what, we want them on the team. In the United States, it is so normal to talk to strangers. I know from other cultures, it may seem a little bit more daunting because it's not the norm. But Yudi, how many times have people just started talking to you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you my first experience. Thank you, Claire and Eric, for doing this. I'm excited to have this conversation. But before we get started, let's do a quick intro. Who you are, what you do. Let's start with you, Claire.
Great. My name is Claire Almand. I'm the Associate Director of Marketing at MPOWER Financing.
Nice.
Yeah, Yudi, thanks for having this conversation. My name's Eric Vandevoorde. I'm the Senior Director for Professional Education in the College of Engineering at Purdue University.
Nice. Okay. I want to start this conversation with the heavy topic, which is immigration. As we know, there's nothing going on. No, there's a lot going on. And with all the craziness, I get, reached out by so many international students. And obviously, I can give my perspective, but I want to know from your perspective, like, how are you helping students? And then what do you think international students should do through this season? So maybe you can start.
Understandably a topic that's at the forefront of all of our minds right now.
Yeah.
It's something that we're trying to navigate and stay current about. And, we do understand concern or frustration just about the uncertainty. For me, for my team, for my institution, I think what we've done is just really lean into how we can support students as people and as human beings.
Yeah.
Adjusting some of the processes that we can in terms of timelines for application reviews, for admission decisions, for enrollment deposits even, just to make sure that we're giving students as much clarity and as much lead time as we can when it comes to an understanding of their admission status and as they explore opportunities. I think one thing I might add here is just to invite people to really be intentional about news consumption.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is make sure you're looking at a reliable source.
Yeah.
I would invite folks to stay away from an influencer style, that viral Instagram post that maybe is just looking for clicks as opposed to sharing real information.
Yeah.
So for example, the H-1B conversation that's going on right now, we're starting to get more clarity about that. But of course, the initial reaction was, oh no, the American dream is over.
Right.
And this is impacting F1 students. Well, fast forward to not too long in the future after that announcement, we get the clarity that actually moving from an F1 into an H-1B is not currently impacted by this situation.
Yeah.
So I think as folks are staying current, evaluating the situation, just make sure you're going to reliable news sources. I think historical context is important here.
Yeah.
The H-1B visa has been around since 1990. OPT has been around since 1992. OPT STEM extension for almost the last 20 years. And even further back, the history in the United States, skilled workers have been coming into the country since the mid-late 50s.
Yeah.
And so, we've gone through a lot of different economic conditions, a lot of different geopolitical environments, and certainly different presidential administrations, since the 1950s.
Yeah.
So I would invite folks to just keep in mind, the historical context as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. What about you, Claire?
Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know MPOWER Financing, we help students fund their education in the United States and Canada. And we're doing a lot to try to help students. There's no hiding it. Times are a bit tougher. A bit, maybe we need to change that a little bit. Maybe times are definitely tougher. And so we've beefed up our value-added services to make sure our students can make it through the whole journey. And that includes visa services and support. That includes career support. And so making sure our students, when they come to us, are able to feel some confidence and sort of reduce that anxiety a bit while also helping them through the whole process.
Yeah.
In terms of just the environment generally and how we're thinking about it, if you're someone who is exceptional, you're a hard worker, you have a clear vision, that clarity about where you want to go, we're seeing those students still land jobs and succeed. So the American dream is still there.
Yeah.
For those students that maybe in the past were able to get a job, that were a little less driven, maybe a little bit more in the middle, we are seeing that type of talent struggle a little bit more. So I think my general advice is, if you're someone who knows you're driven, you're going to go for it, you're probably going to be okay. If you're in the middle of the pack, maybe it doesn't make sense for you right now.
Yeah. And maybe that's where I will go next in our conversation is like, let's switch, like, as an international student in this situation, how can we be successful? I include myself. I'm not a student anymore, but still international student in my heart. Imagine I got my visa done. Maybe I'm going to Purdue University and I'm like, okay, I have 3 more months left before I fly for my fall admission. How should I be utilizing my time? What should I be doing during this time? So maybe Claire, you can start.
Yeah, I think number one, you needed your LinkedIn in order to get into school. Most likely, I know from just talking to Eric and others that some schools do look at that.
Yeah.
This is a great time to build up your network. The classmates you're going to school with, your professors, industry experts in your field. Make some real connections where you can and see if you can grow your network before you even land. Ultimately, that's probably going to help you get a job. It's certainly going to help you feel better to have a community on campus. So number one piece of advice is focus more on your LinkedIn presence and what you can do, while also figuring out how you can connect with other students that maybe got admitted as well.
I love it. Okay. What about you, Eric? What would you recommend students to do?
An important question.
Yes.
To be honest, the first thing I would do is
Celebrate.
take the win. Take the win. Get excited. Be happy. It's a lot of work and effort just to get to this point. Not only navigating the admission process, but actually getting that seal that you're going to go and do this wonderful journey that you've been planning for and maybe your family's been planning for. So for sure, feel good about it. And then use that energy, I would say, to be proactive. Certainly the networking piece, I agree tremendously there. I think another thing that I would be doing is starting to, really figure out my housing, figure out my course registration, just take care of some of those logistics ahead of time so that they're not on your plate once you've landed, right? You've got all of those, details arranged in advance. So that's something I would do. Another piece of advice I might offer here, build out a calendar for yourself. Start to understand what is the sequence of your academic semesters. If you're in a program that's encouraging or perhaps requiring an internship or co-op, what will that look like? When are you starting your job search related to that process? Just really be an engineer, right? If you're coming in and into an engineering program, if you're coming in for a science program, if you're coming in for a liberal arts program, just be organized and be purposeful so that you've really got a plan that you're ready to put into action after you land.
Yeah, I love the calendar thing because time management is important, and I think we all get so busy once we land and we forget that there's so much happening, and we forget, like, okay, I also need to take care of this and I need to take care of this, or this conference coming up, this career fair coming up, and then that makes me feel like, okay, let's say I landed. First 10 days is gonna be exciting, but also chaotic, very stressful. I'm starting to see Americans, which I saw it in movies and Bollywood movies, and like, oh, they are real people.
Shocking.
Here we are.
So, and then I'm trying to figure out my housing, navigating how to get from my apartment to there. What is typical, like, what do you think? This is what I've seen students who are more calmer in this situation, and these are the habits or things that they've done to be successful for the first few weeks.
I would love to jump in there because for me, for my team, for my students, we put a lot of emphasis into that week before classes begin, whether it's an orientation or onboarding. So one, make sure that you're there in time. You've adjusted to the jet lag, right? And you are ready to lean in, heavily to that orientation experience so that you can connect with your fellow students, so that you can get familiar with campus and other, logistics. So make sure you're really excited to participate in those onboarding activities. And part of that process as well, get to know people outside of your program and within your program, right? One of the best things you can do to feel comfortable in a new place, not just get to know the physical surroundings, where you're taking classes, where you're grabbing a bite to eat, but really build a new community and do that purposefully, not just with people maybe from your home country or home culture. You didn't go on this study abroad experience,
be in the same environment
for sure, right? So it's always coming back to people. I think another thought that comes to my mind, many of the students that come to my programs, like in engineering management or robotics, are doing that after they've been working for a few years, in industry. Coming back from like the 9 to 5, so to speak, into student mode can be a shock to the system, right? So, whether you maybe took something, a course before you landed just to get back in that mode or not, really start to think of yourself again as a student. That's being curious, that's asking questions, that's being ready to learn, and really make the most of that opportunity.
But on the orientation, so when I was going through my orientation, a lot of my seniors said like, oh, don't worry about it. It's free food, maybe some free stuff, but that's about it. And like typically different seniors may have different experiences and there might be some discouragement that it's nothing important. What's your take on that? Have you heard that?
I have never heard that. And I think that is sort of missing the point of orientation a little bit. So we're community driven as a species, to be honest. And so you're typically not going to have friends upon landing. Your best way to kind of build that community immediately is to meet people. And in a low stress environment, it's much easier, I think, to kind of just get to know who your circle can be. But I think set yourself up for success. You don't want to be feeling lonely 3 months in. You want to have study buddies, people to do stuff with. If your orientation is a little lackluster, maybe in programming, think of it as a way to meet people that can really bolster you through your education and maybe even afterwards.
And let's not underestimate the value of some free food.
That's true. Very true.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Sorry. Go ahead.
That free food is a lovely thing because sharing a meal really helps you make an authentic connection in many cases. Plus, it's budget friendly. Hopefully you're going to a program though that really wants to add value from that onboarding week. At least for us, for Purdue MEM, for robotics, we're talking about etiquette. We're talking about navigating the job search process. We're doing some really memorable team building activities that I hear about from our alumni years later. That was really something that stuck with them and was kind of a turning point in their journey. So, program logistics, yes. Connections with peers, yes. And also professional development, including getting started with that job search from the very beginning.
And the point that I was trying to drive is like, sometimes you don't have to listen to everybody. Like, maybe listen to everyone, but do what you think might be best for you, because they may not have the best experience, but doesn't mean you're not going to have that. So I wanted to drive that point. Like I'm probably going to ask you the same thing about conferences and career fairs, because people are going to say they never hire international students, they don't sponsor international students, so there's no point going there. And which let's get into the career fair, because immediately after orientation, timeline wise, we will be in August, September, career fair starts to happen. That's the common thing that I hear is most companies don't hire international students, or they don't want to sponsor. So it's waste of time. You shouldn't be going. Is that true?
I would encourage people to go to career fairs. And there's all types of career events. It doesn't have to be one of the huge ones that are a bit more expensive. There's local, smaller ones as well. That's actually how I got my job at MPOWER. Was going to one of them. And if you think about it, if you reach out to someone digitally, you don't have a connection, so the chance of them responding well to you is pretty low. When you build that in-person connection, the chance that they're going to really feel that you're a good value add to the company and go to bat for you is so much higher.
Yeah.
So I think your chances maybe actually be just a bit higher actually in person. And then you're getting that in-person experience, that interview experience that you won't get otherwise. And so even if you don't get a job, the confidence that you went through this and learned how to interact with professionals, that is worth it in and of itself, I think.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I would completely agree. I mean, even this conversation that we're having is much more meaningful and valuable and enjoyable because we're doing it here in person in India, which is very cool.
Yeah.
So I completely concur. You know, there's like, what is a win from a career fair? You know, it's not just did I get an interview? It's not just did I get an offer? Those would be great. But there are other ways to win in terms of confidence, in terms of honing your elevator pitch, enhancing your ability to create connections. You know, it's an iterative process. It's not a binary 0-1. This was a win or a loss. It's a progression. And, you know, we're getting to the yes. There are a lot of steps to get to that yes. We've run the data, you know, for students from my programs. There are a wide range of different ways that students secure their co-op offers, their full-time offers every year. Career fairs are always at the top of that list or very close to the top consistently.
Yeah.
There's a reason that 400 companies go to Industrial Roundtable at Purdue University every September, you know, investing not only time, but financial resources, you know, to send representatives from HR, from engineering, because they want to build a personal connection, right? And what does it take to be a successful professional, you know, particularly in a technical setting, but frankly, in every sector, human skills and technical skills, right? Business skills, yes, and people skills. You can't separate those apart from one another. You have to have that full package. And so connecting with somebody face to face at a career fair gives the person on the other side of that table a chance to understand more about your personality, your mindset, you know, your energy, on top of what they can learn about your profile through your resume. I did want to mention too the question about whether or not hiring international students, because I hear this too. Of course I do, right? I cannot tell you the number of times when we had a student go up to a booth that had not checked that box, you know, that did not indicate in the career fair app we're hiring international students or we're sponsoring. And that student shows what they can bring, you know, makes a human connection with that person. And then all of a sudden, what do you know?
And
we do have a spot for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of reasons why a company may or may not indicate that they're sponsoring or hiring. But you can't pass up on somebody who's so talented and that you would be excited to work with.
And other thing that I've heard when I do a lot of these interviews with students, and when I went to my first career fair as well, you also get to know where you stand, because you then realize, oh my gosh, like I need to do so much more than what I've been doing, or I feel really good, like I'm great. So either ways, it's gonna help you. And I like what you said. It's, even if it's not for job, it's gonna help you build that confidence of talking and making that connection, because it's gonna feel very weird. Like, okay, I'm gonna be there and then talk.
This is your show, I know, but I'm just curious, because you've gone through this experience yourself. What was that like at first, and then what was it like, you know, later on in your own experience?
And I mean, again, this you are asking me, but I also got my job offer from Career Fair.
There we go. Hey.
And exactly same. I'm interested in product management career. It was a computer science career fair. I went to the company. They had not listed a project management internship opening. I still went because it was a local company. I was like, oh, you know, I'm just gonna go and talk. And I knew a senior is working, and I knew about the software that they're building at healthcare. So I'm like, you know, I just talking to the HR, and she mentioned, like, you know, what roles are you looking for? I'm like, oh, I'm actually looking for product or a project, because I, you know, love talking to people, and, you know, I like to be the bridge between engineers and business. And she's like, you know, unfortunately we don't have anything. I was like, that's fine. I still took her number or email address, and then I sent her a thank you email saying like, hey, this was fun talking to you, because I remember talking to her about she asked about some restaurant recommendation. I was like, oh, you should go to this restaurant, and if you're into Indian food, you should go to here. There's only 2 of them in my town. So, and reminded her about this conversation in that email that, hey, remember we talked about this, and I hope you had a great dinner. And if you ended up going to one of the restaurants, and then 2 days later, she's like, hey, actually, our department thought about opening a project management. Would you be interested?
Wow.
And I was like, wow. So yeah, even though they were not hiring, it was a computer science fair, I still made it. So yeah.
And I have one anecdote just based on that.
Yeah.
2 things. Don't avoid startups. Don't avoid startups. They're going to be way more flexible in what they can and can't do.
Yeah.
And they just want good talent.
Yes.
And some startups may need the expertise of the country you're from, even, and so that can be a selling point. But that's part 1 is don't avoid startups. The other thing I wanted to mention is that at a startup or at a company, I, as a hiring manager, have a lot of power to make rules. I can't describe how many times I've met a really awesome person and we didn't have a position, but we said, you know what, we want them on the team.
Yeah.
So just because there isn't an opening doesn't mean you can't go and kind of create a position that works for you the way I think you just did. And so startups, and don't be afraid of talking to companies about openings, I think.
Yeah. Talking about talking, that is something international students, like, again, I'm making a broad statement here, but a lot of them are shy, introvert, and they don't know how to have that conversation, especially in the career fair setting. I know we're going to talk about in networking in a minute, but what's your tips for elevator pitch? What is an elevator pitch? Like, are you stuck in an elevator? Like, what do we say elevator pitch? And like, I know, Claire, you have, we've been doing events, so I know you have some good thoughts over there as well. So communication is big. How do we use that to our advantage? How do we improve it? What are some key thoughts? Maybe you can start.
Yeah, so an elevator pitch is sort of, if you're stuck in an elevator with someone, what would you say in that 30 seconds? And 30 seconds is actually the key point I want to share. In working with a lot of international students and people from India, I often find they go on for maybe 2 to 5 minutes. And it really is meant to be a hook to get them interested in you. So something could be like, hey, my name is Claire Almand. I made a career in supporting startups. And so would love to talk to you a bit more about what you're looking for in a marketing capacity. Tell me a little bit more. Like, that's just very brief, confident. And then if the person engages you, you can go for more.
Yeah.
But I think it's more about that really quick, confident hook. And then that lets the person know if you have something they're interested in. But 2 things: concise, confidence. Really matters.
Yes.
Eric, do you have any thoughts on your students' elevator pitches?
I mean, +1 to what you've described in terms of the elevator pitch, right? And I think that is the most classic, approach, and I think continues to be very valuable. So, we certainly talk to our students about how to navigate that effectively, and then we also present an alternative depending on their own personality and what feels comfortable for them.
That's awesome.
So in some cases, we talk about the elevator pitch, and then we also say, get out of the elevator and take a different approach, which is kind of, to your point, Yudi, human-centric first. The style would be, rather than giving that quick profile summary, it's make a connection. What brought you back to campus? Are you a Boilermaker alum? This weather's beautiful. This weather's tough. We really appreciate you being here. What restaurants do you like, right? Not as your opening statement, of course, but it always comes back to food. It always comes back to food, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So really, leading into an exchange. And a Q&A in terms of finding common interest and common ground, and then building from there. Trying to really break out of sometimes that script. Think of it this way, you're in a line maybe with a couple hundred other students. What has that recruiter been doing the hour before they talk to you? It might be a breath of fresh air for them to have a different style of conversation. And all of a sudden your resume is in a different pile than the 100 people before you.
Like, I had fun talking to them.
And I think that's honestly, that's maybe the secret. Just try to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And if you're more of a quiet, introverted person, that can be a superpower too. Maybe you're able to be more thoughtful. Maybe that person you're speaking with is also an introvert. And sometimes you can just own it at the start of the conversation. I tend to be a bit quieter. These conversations can be a bit challenging, but I'm really just so interested in this role.
Yeah.
I had to get out of my comfort zone and come and talk to you, right? So just initiating a way to, again, find common ground, shared interest, and exchange. And then from there, hopefully the conversation can flow more naturally into the professional setting. So I think both approaches, that classical elevator pitch and the out of the elevator pitch can be very useful.
Well, I think you brought up a really important point, which is context matters.
Yeah.
Context matters a lot. If you're at an event and you're just standing around, you're not going to go up to someone and give an elevator pitch. Like, hey, I'm Claire, and this is what I do. That's just not normal. And so what I advise people to do is come up with 5 really good questions. 5 really good questions you can keep in your back pocket that, get people that, a hard question like, hey, what was the most challenging thing you did this week? They're going to take them time to kind of think about it, and then they'll get going. Then you look for that connection point. But if you just have 5 questions you can pull from, that way you can get a conversation going, and you're not stressed going, what am I going to say?
Yeah.
I think the key is to make sure it's not a yes or no answer.
Yes. Yeah. I love it. Awesome. Let's then talk about networking, because this word has been thrown around so much. Everyone talks about, in America, network, whatever your network is your network.
I've actually never heard that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's what they say.
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
I have.
Okay.
Well, and I think of the net worth piece being multi-layered, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what, how do you network? What is the best way to network? Why should you network? Is network really even that important? If I'm really skilled, really talented, I have all the skills that I need, do I still need to network?
Yes.
Why?
So I think networking, when you use that term, it makes people get a little anxious because it's a loaded word. It's really building genuine connections with other people without having an ulterior motive of trying to get something.
Yeah.
So I think realistically, if you're just going to professional events, meeting people, really enjoying the conversation and focus on the connection and having fun, the network typically follows. Actually, where people really get confused with networking is like, I'm going with this objective. I'm going to achieve getting a job or an internship, and I'm going to directly ask for one. And that's not really what networking is. It's more about a long-term approach to having more connections. And then over time, when you need something, maybe an opportunity works out. I've definitely reached out to people who I've met at professional events and said, hey, something's come up. Are you interested in a project? So I think it's a little bit more long-term than most people think about. And I also, genuine connections is really the key word.
Yes.
There.
I love it. Yep.
Yeah, I totally agree. And oftentimes students are thinking about building a network when they realize they want one and need one, rather than having it be a consistent process. And I think if it's a consistent process, it takes it out of that transactional, what will I get out of this space? And it puts it more into like, let me be curious. Let me be, interested in learning about this particular role or this particular product, or this person's day, weekly experience. There's an old saying that interested is interesting, right? So just asking questions of someone, I think, is a nice way to start to build a rapport. So much buildup happens for networking, and I think that anxiety or that stress that comes along with it is often really resulting from the lack of practice and familiarity. And so if again, you're intentional about putting yourself in situations where you're networking that are low stakes and low pressure, then you start to understand, how can I be authentic in these spaces when I get to those events that matter a little more to me? And so, that conversation with somebody in the elevator is a form of networking. And if you are getting outside of your comfort zone and talking to strangers on the, that you might run into at the Starbucks line, talking to people from other programs that you're in the same classes with, getting involved in a student organization, going to a community organization or an NGO to do some volunteer work. These are all forms of networking.
Yeah.
We just don't classify them that way because they don't have a job outcome or desire attached. But the more that we can get comfortable with, again, human connection and being curious, then when we get into those more formal networking settings, we understand how to navigate those effectively.
Yeah.
And Eric, you just said something that maybe Yudi's audience doesn't realize. In the United States, it is so normal to talk to strangers. I know from other cultures, it may seem a little bit more daunting because it's not the norm. But Yudi, how many times have people just started talking to you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you my first experience. I was in Safeway, which is a grocery store, and I went there, and this lady, like, she was checking, like, she was checking the stuff out for me, and she like, so how's it going? And I was like, I don't know this person. This is like my first time ever in the grocery store. So I was like, good. She's like, so when do you, like, what you up to? Like, what brings you here? I'm like, why is she asking all this question? So yeah, I totally get it. But now I come to India and I do the same thing. And I'm like, they see me the same way that I do. So,
you're the one asking the questions. How are you?
Yeah. It's like, what are you doing? So, yeah. But the formal networking piece is also, obviously, I understand that people need job and they want to get referrals and all of it. Like, it's so overused. I get maybe 20 to 30 DMs, and the common thing is like, hi, I am doing masters from XYZ University. Here's my resume. Can you refer me? Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't even know you. So, yeah. How, like, what should be the best approach in that case? Because people do say, like, you should do an outreach to LinkedIn and reach out to alumni and reach out to your seniors. Like, what is the best way to do that?
I mean, the first thing that strikes me in your example, Yudi, is that I value my professional reputation. I would never refer someone I don't know.
Yep.
I can't actually make a judgment on the quality of their work. And so I think it's a pretty hard ask asking someone you don't know to sell you for someone else, because most of us do value
your
reputation. So I think that approach probably isn't the right call. A little bit better is to find a connection you have with someone. Alumni is huge. If someone from my college reaches out and said, hey, I'm interested in this position, do you have 5 minutes just to tell me a little bit more about it? I'm way more likely to say, sure, I have 5 minutes. I'd love to help someone from my school. But really looking for a connection point.
Right, like some form of common thread.
Anything. Hey, you do dance, I do dance.
Yeah. Or I saw you at the event, we spoke about this, I would love to talk.
Anything like that. You want that genuine, start the connection and then try to build up later. It's also better if the person offers the referral versus you asking.
100%. Yeah.
I completely agree with what Claire has shared there. The example I like to give to my students is go up to somebody on the street and ask them for $100 US bill. See what their reaction is. When you cold reach out to somebody on LinkedIn and say, hello, can you give me a referral? That's the equivalent. Okay?
Yeah.
What's your success rate there? Oof. Okay, not so great, right? Alternatively, like you had mentioned, not asking for a referral. An alternative approach is what we might term informational interviewing, which is rather than being so focused again on the transactional side of things and how can this person help me, it's focusing more on learning, understanding if you're going into product management, how is AI impacting product management right now? What are the tools that person is using? What are some trends? If you're going into technical program management, what are some books that person's reading that they find useful, or what's the culture of their company? And it just frames the dialogue in such a different way, because when you're transactional in that referral outreach, it's just so obvious, and it's not very compelling.
No,
you're not touching somebody on that human level, right? But you can't break the contract, right? You cannot break the trust of the informational interview, because what you said is, I'm here to learn, and will you share some of your experience to help me as a student and as an aspiring technical manager and leader? The minute you start to ask for a referral or a resume review, that trust is unfortunately damaged. However, that person might offer.
Yep.
You know, next time you apply for a job here, let me know.
Yeah.
Right. Or, you know, I have a hiring manager colleague that I think could really benefit from your profile. Would you send me your resume? So, you know, it might be after the fourth conversation that happens, 5 months down the line. That's okay. I go back to the same mindset that we were discussing in terms of career fair. It's a progression, you know, the journey of the 1,000 steps beginning, or 1,000 miles. Let me start that over. The journey of 1,000 miles beginning with a single step. As long as you're walking in the right direction, you'll reach the destination, right? And so whether it is that career fair or it's that referral or that informational interview, just make sure your steps are taking you in the right direction and you're approaching it in the right way.
Yeah, and I also like, I mean, it's very similar to in-person career fair. Like it is always refreshing when someone just sends me, "Hey Yudi, thank you for doing all you do," type of the message, and I was like they didn't ask me anything. Like that's it. And I was like, "Oh, thank you." And then maybe they'll start another conversation. Like, "I saw this article or I saw this video. This might be helpful for you." So it's providing value first, and then I feel there's like a human reciprocity that we have. Like, "Oh, you've helped me. I want to help you as well." So anyway, talking about all of this, you are going to go through rejection. From networking standpoint, you'll reach out to 15 people, maybe one will respond. You'll go through career fair, maybe 10 companies, only one might be sponsoring. It is very discouraging, especially when international students applying to jobs and you're like just seeing, "Sorry, we can't sponsor you," or "Sorry, we regret to inform you," type of emails that you get. How and that usually turns into isolation and lots of discouragement. How should international students overcome that feeling, and who should they talk to? Should they talk to someone? I hope they do talk to someone. But like, how do they overcome that?
Yeah.
I hope so too. I hope they do talk to somebody. I think the first thing we need to normalize here is that rejection is an inherent part of the job search process for anybody.
Yeah.
You know, for a domestic candidate or for an international candidate, you can't get every interview and every job to which you apply. So we have to sort of understand from the beginning that this will be inevitable, and that's okay, right? So first is understanding that and internalizing that. From there, keeping in mind when you get those rejections, they might be an automated one, right? It may have nothing to do with your profile or your skill set. Even if you go through a couple of rounds of an interview and ultimately don't land that job, it's not necessarily a commentary on your fit with the role. It may simply be there was somebody that had more experience or a hiring manager just has a different style and they found alignment with another candidate. Is that disappointing? Yes, but you, again, steps in the right direction. You got to that last round.
Yeah.
At that point, you are knocking on the door of the offer. And I talk with my Purdue MEM students and our robotics students all the time. How many offers do you need?
Yeah.
You need one.
Yes.
We would like for you to have 3 or 4, and sometimes that happens too. You need one, right? So keep that in mind as well. And if you start to get down on yourself, that's understandable. You know, we're human beings, we're not robots. You know, even with AI, it's a stressful process, particularly if you're studying in another country, right? You may not have that support network of your family. You may not have familiar cuisine and smells, and you may not have familiar surroundings. You're doing something difficult, right? So give yourself a little grace that it's okay to feel down sometimes, and then do something about it.
Yeah.
Right. That's why that community that we were talking about building, you know, before you land and after you land is so important. You know, surrounding yourself with people that want to cheer for you and support you in tough times, and you will reciprocate that. And then also keep in mind, you know, hopefully you're part of a program in an institution where you can go and talk to your staff and your faculty, to your program director, come talk to me, you know, if you have challenges, or go to some of the different centers on campus. I think the only mistake you can make if you're feeling a bit isolated is staying isolated. You know, there's no shame in feeling that way. It's just part of being a human being who's doing something difficult. So, you know, go share that experience with somebody, and make sure you can get some support and you can get some cheerleading and somebody that just is in your corner, you know, help wanting you to be successful.
So, you know, there's a lot of research on mindset. And I don't know what the other one's called, but there's one that's having a growth mindset. And these people tend to have better life outcomes. And it's those people that realize every failure has something to learn from and approach it from a less personal point of view. And so I know it's really hard, because when you really have to learn from a bunch of automatic rejections. But if you're getting interviews and it's not working out, I really encourage people to try to have that proactive growth mindset. What can I learn? Because failure will follow you the rest of your life. You'll have a project at work that won't work out, and feeling defeated and not continue to try and learn from it won't help you there either. So as much as you can keep your head up and really try to keep that growth mindset, that's what I encourage people to do. Plus all of Eric's advice, which was really great.
And I love the community aspect of it, but as an international student, something weird happens with us. We land, and obviously there's a competitiveness, and sometimes I feel like the batchmates becomes competitors instead of peers, like someone who I can do this thing together, versus, oh, if I am applying and if I tell this person, they might apply and they will steal my job. So then I would like try to keep it to myself. Have you experienced this? And if you have, what's kind of advice would you give?
I certainly have experienced it from time to time, you know, having been at Purdue almost 11 years now. Luckily not too often, but of course it pops up, right? When that scarcity mindset instead of the growth mindset creeps in, that's sort of the next thing that happens usually, is going, there's a limited number of these things and I want to keep as many as I can for myself, right? The way we try to frame that competition is that it is external to our program, and you know, the competition is out there, maybe from other institutions. So if you want to be competitive, if you're a naturally competitive person and that sort of drives you and motivates you in a positive way, which is a little bit how I am, I will admit, then sure, like use that as your competition and your motivation. The competition is not in here. The community of the program, the community of our institution or the institution that you might be at, that's not where the competition is coming from. And what I've found and also felt, because to be honest, it is as much a feeling as it is something that I'm observing in a tangible sense. It's a much more enjoyable experience for our students when they share opportunities, when they pass something along as a referral to a fellow student, because maybe they've already got an offer, but they know this person would be a fit. And it actually, the cooperation leads to better success for the entire group rather than the competition. So not only is it a more enjoyable and growth-filled experience when students are open and sharing and supporting one another, it's also a more successful experience too. Those two things sound pretty good to me, right? So, you know, make sure you're surrounding yourself with peers and batchmates that have a similar mindset. Create that together, and then you're influencing the next circle of peers. You know, I think when we talk about organizational culture or, you know, program vibes, a lot of times we just think, well, that's something that statically exists and it's there and I'm joining it. But no, you're influencing it too. You are co-creating that environment and that dynamic of your program. What is the influence you would like to have? Do you want to be that person that lifts others up and lifts yourself up too? Please be that person, because you're not only benefiting yourself, you're helping those around you.
I really liked what Eric said about just kind of culture of different institutions and companies. I've found that as well. To your earlier question, yes, I've felt like I've been in a competitive environment before, and that people are maybe getting a little bit more. But knowing what type of person you are, I think, is important. Are you someone that really wants to collaborate with everyone on a project, or does the competition really push you along? When I was looking at MBA programs, I could tell from the students I was talking to, some programs are really cooperative and some are way more competitive. I'm a cooperative person, and I chose my program because I could tell that that's what was happening, and students were actually all applying for the same job and coaching each other, and then and helping each other out. And I knew the same thing for MPOWER. I knew that's what I wanted in a company too, because I'm that type of person. And so if you are on the competitive side, maybe you need to go to a program or a job like that, and that culture will help you too. But there probably is a place for both. And kind of just knowing where you fall can really help. And then the other piece of advice I have on this is, you can't control other people. You can only control yourself. And so what type of person do you want to be? Are you the type of person that is going to share opportunities and try to build that network? Or, who are you? And so I think when you're trying to compete with others, remind yourself you're competing with yourself alone, and who are you going to be in that environment? I think that's really important.
Yes. And I know we're going to talk about job hunting in a minute, but I also want to talk about professors. I love my professors. When I did my master's from, I had an email from him a few days ago because Diwali was going on. And we had gifted him 11 years ago a dress to wear, an Indian wear. And he's like, hey, Yudi, I know you give me this, and we are hosting a Diwali party in campus. Should I be wearing this? And I'm like, yeah, this is absolutely the perfect time to wear this. So, and I love it because I have built that relationship, and it keeps on going. But it's not very typical at least in India, to have that type of professor-student relationship. So then people show up at the orientation and then graduation. Then between, there's no kind of things going on, and they're on their own. What is the role of professors in their master's or bachelor's education, at least in America? Because it's very different than in India. Yeah,
that's a really good question. Also, what a wonderful relationship that you've built there. That's lovely. I think for the most part, faculty at U.S. institutions are there because they want to enhance learning for others. And there are different types of institutions. Some are more research oriented, some are more teaching oriented. But regardless, faculty are there because they enjoy seeing that light bulb moment, I think, from a student. And I have just numerous things I'm thinking of in my head right now, different things students have shared with me over the years of how a faculty member who is extremely busy, they have their own research lab, they're teaching a class, perhaps they have an entrepreneurial venture that's come from their tech commercialization efforts, and just how they've gone above and beyond to support a student. So I think I would really encourage students as they begin a program, and again, this goes back to that preparation, that intentionality, and that relationship building, to see your professors as guides,
as mentors.
For sure. Not only what you can learn from them from a technical standpoint, what you can learn from them on a professional standpoint. And remember, they're very accomplished, intelligent people. They are still people, right? So make a connection with them. Of course, you're being respectful and professional, but stay after class and ask an informed question. Go to office hours, because you're demonstrating your motivation to be a learner. Just try to build a human connection with that person. And that's encouraged in most scenarios. It's not something that you need to feel badly about.
Do you have relationships with professors, or were you nervous? Or
in my undergrad, I definitely was nervous. Just like, these people are so smart. Like, they're so smart. What am I going to say to them could be anything interesting? But you realize they're there because they're passionate about their topic, and the fact that you're interested, they're just like, wow, I am interested in this really niche topic, and so is she. I'm so excited to share this with someone who seems just as excited. And so I think it's just like anything else with humans. Some people you'll connect with really well. Some maybe that's, chemistry isn't there, and that's okay. So, if you go to a professor and you don't feel the relationship building, it's just not there, that's okay.
Mhm.
There'll be other professors, so you don't
Yeah.
need to force it either.
Yes.
But I find most professors are just excited that you're interested
yeah.
in what they have to teach, which is a great
100%.
starting point.
Yeah. And another habit that I would love international students to adopt, and this is something I learned a little late as well, is investing in themselves. And it's hard because you are an international student. I understand we are all trying to pinch money, like as much as we can save, and we're trying to work on campus. But then there are important events that happens, conferences and hackathons, and it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost $500, $100, maybe $1,000. Some universities do support, like Purdue does have $500, professional scholarships. So, but like, how should students think about this as not an expense, but as an investment that may have a better ROI in future? Like, I want people to think differently about this.
I would agree. I think it comes back to taking ownership of the journey for yourself. So right now as we speak, I've got maybe, I think, about 10 students going to the Grace Hopper conference that's happening in Chicago this year. I think that's tomorrow. Just a week or so ago, we had, I think, close to 50 students going to SWE, Society of Women Engineers Conference in New Orleans, from our Purdue MEM program. When the students are going to that, we're talking with them ahead of time about, yes, here's how to navigate that career fair that goes with these events. And yet also there's so many more opportunities than you might initially conceive.
Yeah.
Going to sessions given by fantastic, successful female leaders and engineers in industry, like how inspiring, how informative, and again, what a great opportunity for networking. Maybe going to a social outing and meeting people from other institutions and programs that you would never have encountered otherwise. There's a really great study. I don't know if we have time for that.
Professor Eric.
Okay, I'm not going to give a citation. There's a really great study about a European telecommunications company that the company was having difficulty meeting sales goals, and they weren't sure what to do to solve this issue. It always comes back to coffee for me. So
Food and coffee.
Hear me.
Yeah.
There's some themes.
Yeah.
What they found out is that they had too many beverage stations, and so people were only having to walk, a few meters away, and they were never going to other spaces of the organizational, layout. They changed it to, I think, 2 coffee machines. And then you had to walk, and you inevitably interacted with people from other verticals, other teams, other divisions. Boom. All of a sudden the magic happened again, right? Because you're sharing ideas and different skill sets and different perspectives. All of a sudden they were exceeding sales goals. So creating collisions was the message from this, unexpected conversations and meetings. And that's what happens when you go to a Grace Hopper, to a SWE, to a career fair. It doesn't have to be a big national conference either. It can be something hosted on your campus. It can be something regional where you can get there on a bus or taking a short drive. And for sure, how are we valuing that ROI? Again, it's not just a binary 0 or 1. I got a job offer or I didn't. It's, am I enjoying myself? Am I learning? Am I adding value to my profile, to my network? Am I boosting my own confidence and seeing where I'm going? How I will be successful in my career. So there are all these tangible and intangible layers. So absolutely, invest in yourself. When else in your life will you be able to be a student full-time? That's your job, is learning. And if you learn and you consistently approach your job search with the proper strategy, the success is inevitable. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But it is the skill building, it is the networking and the people side that allow you then to showcase what you can do with the company. So for sure, invest with intentionality on that side of things.
And I'll just add a little bit, which is, why did you come to the U.S.? Did you come to just go to school and, maybe get a low-paying job, or did you come to become the best version of yourself? And I think reminding yourself, I came here to be the best version of myself, get the best job possible, the one that really matches what I want to do. You only get there if you put it all in, and I don't think you want to get to the end of your schooling and go, wow, there's so much more I could have done, and I didn't do it. So think of your future self, think of where you came from and where you want to go, and I think just keeping those goals in mind can really help you feel more motivated going, I'm going this direction.
Yeah. And even, again, I thinking from a financial standpoint, because that's what they are thinking. They would really want to do this. But they're thinking, well, like, oh, that's $1,000. That's like my 1 month of on-campus job. But like in my mind, I'm thinking, what if you get like a loan or a scholarship or something like that? There's so many ways to possible. And yes, it's $1,000 right now, but you might end up getting a $10,000 monthly internship offer or a $100,000 offer.
Or if you need a little extra of a loan for a part of it, maybe you'll get a job that you can pay the entire loan off quickly because you gain that skill. So
and let's keep in mind, some conferences offer scholarships. Or at least student rates, right? So that's one thing to consider. And you can be frugal in your travel to get it done.
And, like that could be part of their planning finances before they come, because now they know that that's going to be something,
an expense. Honestly, you can save a lot of money with proper planning. I find that many students underestimate how doing things last minute can cost you a lot more. So if you're one of those people who's really planning ahead throughout your semester and you have expected expenses, you'll be way better off. Travel, I promise you, in the US, it's always dramatically more expensive last minute. So planning.
The calendar.
Making a calendar.
Okay, last topic for today is, again, job hunting. I know we kind of addressed this, is the American dream alive and not alive, but still, I have seen students getting job offers, but I've also seen students getting rejections and ghosted and last round and sorry, we can't move forward, etc. What's your take on job hunting? When should they start? Should they start before coming to the United States, which is what I recommend, but I want to see what you guys say. And what's your overall, if you were to give a 2-minute masterclass on job hunting, this is how I would advise people to job hunt. Since you hire people, maybe you can talk from a hiring manager perspective, what would you want a student to have? And then maybe you can explain from this, what would you recommend students to do?
So I'm looking for a few things. It ultimately comes back to the role I'm hiring for. Is there a skills match that I can clearly see that a student's demonstrating? And that's just part of it. The other part where students might not understand this part is company culture. Can I see you fitting in at my company with our values and doing a good job? And sometimes you may not realize it. You could be rejected because there's a culture mismatch. Maybe this company is looking for something that's, hey, I'm looking for an extrovert and it's client facing, and you came across as a more reserved introvert. Who knows? But I'm looking for someone that has the values of my company. And so the more ways you can figure out those values are, go to the website. How does the company talk about themselves? Are they innovative? Are they more traditional? And then how do you make those points across your resume and hit those points in the interview? At MPOWER, I can tell you, look at this from our website, we're very mission-based. So if you show that you're also there for the mission and you have experiences that are along the mission, you're way more likely to get an interview with me and have a great just experience of the hiring process, because we look for that. And so I think one hidden secret sauce is, can you figure out that company's values from materials, from informational interviews, and how do you show those values?
So really understanding job description, company, and then tailoring that in their resume to show that I got what you need. And then I promise you can figure out what the company thinks of themselves on their website. So how do you write your resume to kind of reflect that?
And building on the idea of companies, I think students and job seekers need to also keep in mind the bigger picture. You know, in the United States, there are, I think, over 1,800 public billion-dollar companies. After that, I think the next quote, the second highest is like in the low 400s. Okay, and down substantially from there. In addition to those 1,800 publicly traded billion-dollar companies, I think there are something like 700 privately held billion-dollar companies in the U.S. I think also keeping in mind, again, bigger picture job conditions. You know, the U.S. has, if I'm not mistaken, something like 25% of global GDP, and maybe from there the next closest is 18%, and then it's going down substantially after that, even in some really wonderful growing economies like here in India. So you want to put yourself in an environment that has opportunities. I don't see, from a strictly data standpoint, any better opportunities than the U.S. So we have to keep that in mind. Once we've got that in our mind, okay, if this is a place where I have a higher probability of being able to be successful, then what can I do? First thing, absolutely start your search right away. Right away. It still flabbergasts me, which is a very fun word. You know, when I do hear, and it's usually not my students, it's a friend of one of my students that's saying they just started their search a month or two before graduation. Like, whether you're a domestic or an international student, too late, right? I mean, you have to start right away.
What's right away?
Okay, good question. For us, right away is usually onboarding week before classes begin. I think there's a certain subset of students that I think are ready to begin the job search, like in a meaningful way before they've arrived. I think some other students, maybe it's not the right time because they might benefit from some additional guidance and professional development. So I could see it go both ways. But for sure during onboarding week, before classes even begin, and then from there, right, at least for us, we've got like professional development seminars every week. We've got one-on-one reviews. So participate in those, be proactive, build it into your schedule. I talk all the time with my students about, you know, your job search is your fifth class. You know, at least as a graduate student, usually you're taking 3 or 4 classes. For us, it's 4. The job search is class 5. So it's got deliverables, right? You need to be accountable to yourself. Make it a game with a friend and you hold each other accountable. Make it a game with me, you know, commit to something. Number of hours invested, number of apps, number of informational interviews, requests sent out, you know, coffee chats, like make it measurable, like SMART goals, right? You know, make it measurable for yourself, make it real, and then work through the plan.
This has been like masterclass on overall journey for international students. But what's the one last words of wisdom maybe you would want to give, like an advice, like someone who's planning to come to United States maybe in next spring or fall? What's the one key takeaway for them?
So
Doesn't have to be
I
one.
have 2.
Yes.
I immediately got nope. So we at MPOWER, we see the students that are most successful. They have clarity on the career they're looking for, and they're just trying to figure out how to get there. Don't pick a school and figure out when you arrive. Please don't do that. You have a good example sometimes you share, like a GPS. How do you know where you're going if you don't know the end destination? So make sure you're going for a certain career. And you can change your mind later. That's okay. But that really helps students go the wrong path. And then the other one is learn how to project confidence, even if you feel like you don't have it. You can fake it until you make it. Eventually it feels real. So watch some YouTube videos, put yourself out there, do what you need to project confidence. We're human and we want to be around people that have that self-assurance. And so that's step 1 in order to sort of impress someone in an interview. So start on day 1.
That reminds me of a book called Be So Good That They Can't Ignore You. So it's again, thank you, Eric, and thank you, Claire, for doing this. I loved it, and I can't wait to bring you back again. But until our next one.
Keep smiling, keep hustling.